many people around your age do you know who have smoked marijuana?
Almost, I want to say like 9 out of 10
Really?
students. Yeah,
Is
9
that
out of 10.
prevalent?
Yeah, definitely.
Now that it's legal, everybody's just getting it.
Welcome back. In 2012, during the midterms, two U.S. states, Colorado and Washington State, through a statewide referendum, decided to legalize the sale of marijuana. Well, yesterday at 8 a.m., the state of Colorado was the first to move ahead with that plan and opened the doors at various retailers and are now selling marijuana legally. And joining me via Skype from Kingston, Ontario, is Craig Jones. He's the Executive Director for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws in Canada. Hi, James. Thanks very much for joining. Craig, hi.
Good afternoon.
So obviously you're following this very closely, what's taking place in the state of Colorado. Yesterday, the legal pot went on sale, and we just showed a clip for everyone at home, Craig, of some young people that were being interviewed about their marijuana use. The criticism, of course, is now that the state of Colorado is going to become the pot tourism state. Do you think that that's what's going to happen?
Probably there will be some pot tourism. There's a lot of pot tourism in Amsterdam. There's some pot tourism in Portugal. So there will probably be some pot tourism in Colorado, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the work that your organization does, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws in Canada. What is it that specifically you would like Canadian lawmakers to do?
We would like Canadian lawmakers to modernize Canada's cannabis regime, to bring it into the 21st century, to abandon the reefer madness policies and direction of the current government, and sit down with the evidence and the best science and design a regulatory regime based on public health principles that acknowledges the benefits and the harms of cannabis, and that makes it possible to tax and regulate cannabis in such a way that we reap the benefits and suppress the downsides, which are primarily organized crime.
That's one of the things that we certainly have heard from the federal Conservatives, that they would like to, quote, modernize them, one of the terms that you certainly just used. We also have seen the leader of the third party, Justin Trudeau, saying he wants to look at this as well. So at least the discussion is happening. That, I think, alone, Craig, is a step in the right direction. But I want to talk about specifically the taxation aspect of it. There is obviously a lot of money, a lot of revenue that could be made through it. We have moved ahead to a degree with the use of medicinal marijuana. But how would it work, really? I mean, are we going to have government-sanctioned grow ops? How would that all unfold?
Negotiated. Exactly, the instrumentalities and mechanics, are open for negotiation. I don't think we should endorse a one-size-fits-all model. A one-size-fits-all model is what we have today. It's called prohibition, and it serves the interests of organized crime and police departments and nobody else. So what we favor is return to the Ledane Commission report, return to the 2002 Senate report, extract the best recommendations from those, sit down with the best scientific and policy minds and the people who know the jurisprudence around cannabis, take the best examples from around the globe and design a regulatory regime that borrows from our best learnings on alcohol and tobacco, design a regime around those lessons and regulate accordingly. I use the term re-regulate in order to draw attention to the fact that we currently regulate cannabis through this mechanism called prohibition, which doesn't work for anybody.
So what do you say to the millions of parents on both sides of the border that don't want their children to, for example, to have access to something like this? People always talk about marijuana can be a gateway drug to doing other more harmful substance abuse issues. What do you say to them?
On the gateway model, I would say educate yourself. And on the other thing, the access issue, I would say prohibition is the best form of access because there is no gate between the supplier and the buyer under conditions of prohibition. It's just a matter of what you can get away with until you're, apprehended by the police. Okay, so all of these anxieties and fears, many of them are product of reefer madness thinking, can be dispelled with a little bit of education. And if anybody wants the state of the art on education about cannabis, go to the 2002 Senate report co-chaired by Pierre-Claude Nolan.
Okay, educate me. I mean, I'm not into the reefer madness, but in the short few seconds that we have left, give me some quick top line bullet points of that report that you just mentioned.
Well, currently, under prohibition, cannabis is easier to acquire for persons underage than either alcohol or tobacco because there's no gatekeeper. There's nobody asking for identification or age of majority. So the moment you re-regulate, you bring it into the mainstream, you make it possible for people to create a barrier between persons who are underage and suppliers.
All right, that's great, Craig. We appreciate your time and your insight into this. It's certainly an ongoing debate. There will be much more, I think, in the coming days, weeks, months. It will be likely an election issue, too, if I see things going the way they do in 2015. No doubt we will be hearing a lot more from you as well.
Call anytime.
All right, we appreciate your time. That is Craig Jones. He is the Executive Director of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws in Canada.